Former federal NDP leader Tom Mulcair joins us. Mr. Mulcair, we've seen the interaction between Trudeau and Xi Jinping. Media outlets in the United States and across Europe have framed it as Trudeau getting a scolding from Xi. So what was your take on the interaction?
Well, there have been two interactions. The first was on Tuesday, and Mr. Trudeau and his team said that Mr. Trudeau got very directly in Premier Xi's face and just letting him know that it was not on to have the Chinese government with these quasi-police stations in big cities like Toronto, and even more troublesome, getting involved directly in Canadian elections. So that was a scolding by Trudeau towards President Xi. Now, you're never sure exactly what gets said in these things, and the spin and the version of Trudeau's people. It was open to question until the next interaction on Wednesday. And there, Mr. Trudeau got an admission out of Premier Xi because he got upset with Trudeau saying, well, you've got to create the conditions for a good discussion and you shouldn't have gone and leaked this to the media. Well, if it hadn't happened, there was nothing to leak to the media. Because it had happened, he was upset that it got leaked to the media. So we learned that dictators really don't like a free press, that it is for us one of the foundations of a free and democratic society that we have freedom of the press. And it's the type of thing that also allows us to be in a position to cherish our other freedoms, like freedom of religion. And yes, to say something when we find that the Chinese treatment, for example, of the Uyghur Muslim minority is absolutely unacceptable in terms of international law. So these are the big discussions that take place internationally. Now, for the Chinese to be saying now that Premier Xi was the one upbraiding Trudeau, that's a bit rich because they're all reacting to it. The Chinese government don't accept that their president is even questioned ever, but for him to be questioned publicly like that is something for them akin to losing face. So I think that there's a lot of that hard feeling right now amongst the Chinese. It's not going to help our relationship with them. But look, the second time Trudeau went to China, the Canadian journalists actually got roughed up by the security services there because they were trying to prove a point about Canadians saying things about their human rights record. So I think that on this one, Trudeau comes away the clear winner. Any tut-tutting that he might have broken a rule, I think is just misplaced. I think that Trudeau showed strength in dealing with the Chinese, which is something that Canadians want when we learn that they're interfering in our elections.
The entire conversation seemed to end with the notion that there will be consequences for Prime Minister Trudeau. What type of consequences are we talking here? Should we be worried about Canada-China relations?
Canada-China relations are in a bad place anyway. I mean, as much as I'm able to say that I believe Mr. Trudeau was completely right in this case, I still believe that he was completely wrong in holding Wang Mengzhou on behalf of the United States. Donald Trump wanted to use her as a bargaining chip in his negotiation with China, and we know that because Donald Trump admitted as much. She was being held for political reasons, which is illegal under Canadian law. She should never have been held. Yes, the tit for tat with the two Michaels, absolutely illegal, but they're back home now. We've got to look at our own behavior on these things. We've got to learn how to be consistent. And if we want to be able to say we do have the ability to talk to a great power like China, then we have to be consistent in how we behave with another great power, which is the United States. And the way Mr. Trudeau dealt with that one, of course, was unseemly, in my view.
And let's just go back to that initial discussion between Trudeau and Xi that led to all of this, talking about interference in Canada's elections. Should Trudeau have raised this issue in the first place?
What could be a better moment than to do that? You're not going to have a behind closed doors meeting. There is a way to wind up seeing each other in a corridor. And I think that Trudeau showed strength, determination, and he also showed that he's one of the senior players on the world stage right now. And he wasn't shy about going right up to Xi and talking about this on behalf of Canada, an independent country with a proud democratic tradition that respects human rights. And too bad if the president of China, who was never elected by anybody, who is there for life, who gives himself these extraordinary powers, and who supervises and provides surveillance of every single citizen in the country, and he's going to lecture us when we tell him to keep his nose out of our elections. Trudeau was right on this one. I honestly believe that he comes out of this standing up strong and proud.
Mr. Mulcair, thank you for being with us tonight on Trending Now.
All the best.